joined by UIC head coach Howard Moore and senior Marc Brown. We'll open it up to Howard first and give us his quick take on the year and his team.
Well, first starting off by saying that really like the young men that are representing this team this season. I'm quick to tell them that last year was not an indication of who they are. When I look in the faces of the returning players, like the young man to my left, all I got to do is look in their eyes, and I know that they're going to show the fire and the determination that they need to do what we need to do this season without making any excuses. It's just a matter of moving forward. And we were able to do that this summer, taking the group to Canada, up to Ottawa and Toronto. And it was great to do that with the returning guys and then some of the new faces that we have in the program. And from a coaching standpoint, it allowed me to see what this new group is going to look like and put some different wrinkles in and, obviously have an opportunity to look at some different things on defensive end, offensive end, and see what you got, in the fold. So it was pretty exciting that way. Really happy with the results. Took Ottawa to the wire, one of the runner-ups in the Canadian teams, and also Carleton, which is a team that's beat up on a lot of good American colleges, and wound up taking them to the wire as well. And they were able to pull away down the stretch. But we wound up winning the last 3 games, and I thought it gave our guys a lot of confidence moving forward, and that's what this is about, having confidence in themselves, understanding what they need to do, the work ethic, the passion, all of those intangibles that, coaches would like to see from a group. But they're hungry, they're determined, they're very motivated and driven, and obviously the preseason poll, which obviously means nothing to us, gives them even added, motivation that wasn't even needed, to be honest. But now it's a little bit more added motivation to make sure they take care of the things that we need to take care of on a daily basis. And it's going to be exciting to watch this group transform and come together as the season progresses.
We'll open up to questions for either Coach Moore or Marc. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, actually, that's been the most exciting, position that we've been watching this summer and now in the fall, where you have obviously Jay Parker, a young man who logged quite an amount of minutes last season at the one spot, but also the additions of DeJuan Miller from Seattle, Washington, by way of Eastern Arizona, and also Paris Burns, a Chicago area kid, went to Proviso East High School. Lost as a runner-up to Jabari Parker's Simeon team. And all 3 of those guys have the abilities to run their program, to get people in positions to be successful, and also be aggressive and, put us in good situations on both ends of the floor. So it's been a good battle. Right now, DeJuan is winning the battle, but as these guys all know, until we get to the first game of the year, which is DePaul, a lot of things can be done before then. So it's been a good battle that way. They're competing hard with each other. They understand that nothing's set right now. So it's been good competition, but I know we're going to have a huge upgrade there as a team because we've got 3 valuable pieces that can bring different things to the table, but also make us a better program.
Tony.
I think so. Tony, it was funny because, in those games in Canada, the early ones, the first 2, they were just filling out each other, filling out the FIBA rules. We probably had a bunch of travels because the guys aren't used to putting the ball on the floor before we take off like we do in America. So there was a lot of adjustment in the first 2 games. But then we had our last game, which was at Brock University, and we were down 6 at the end of the 3rd quarter. And you could see the guys, not getting on each other, but really telling each other, look, it's winning time, let's go. And, obviously as a coach, you give them instructions and you tell them certain things. But I saw a different look in their faces. I saw especially with the young man to my left, I saw a lot more leadership in terms of, hey, talking about the right things defensively, talking about what we need to do offensively to get back in the hunt and then take the lead. And those guys did it with their defense, and that's the main thing that this group is willing to do, is reestablish our identity. And I think we forgot about that last season. 2 years ago we won 18 games because we played defense. That's our identity. That's who we are. And so this season, I think we're going to make sure I know we're going to reestablish that identity and make that very clear that we're a team that grinds it out and gets defensive stops. And we'll make sure we take care of the ball and run good stuff on the other end. But we've got to get back to playing good, solid UIC basketball defense. And I think that's the key.
Paul.
Coach, Milwaukee last year, Wright State the year before, picked to finish last in the league and both played for the championship on Tuesday night. Is that something that you can look to and share with the guys and say?
It doesn't matter. Those aren't us. Those guys are not us. It's different circumstances, different teams, different programs. I can care less about what Wright State and Milwaukee did a couple years ago. All I'm focused on is what UIC is doing right now. And, it's nice to hear those stories, but my biggest thing is making sure these guys are prepared for this season, making sure that their minds are on the right things, and making sure that they understand who they are. And I think once we understand who we are as a team, then the skies are the limit. And, again, I've got a group of hungry, guys with chips on their shoulders for different reasons. I got guys that I brought into the program that felt that they were a little slighted in terms of recruiting. So I like that. I like having guys that are trying to overachieve and guys that are willing to do more than what's expected. And that's what I think I have. I have a group of guys that have a chip on their shoulders for the right reasons. And we're going to use that chip. And that's going to be our advantage and our motivation moving forward. Yeah, we're taking our time with Lance. I think the biggest thing was, him getting back on the court this summer. That was huge. Him being able to practice in June, getting cleared to practice in June, and then taking the trip to Canada. And I think in our first couple of practices, when he took a couple of hits going to the basket, we all kind of paused and, we were a little worried about what would happen. But he was the guy that cared less. He was looking for the contact. He was looking to get back in the fold. And it was good to see him, out there playing. And he played quite a bit in Canada and did some really nice things. And it was funny because you look at the defense that he brings to the table, the toughness, the ability to score in different situations, whether jump shots or getting to the basket. And, we could have used that from a freshman. It's funny saying that, but he wasn't a typical freshman. And so now he'll be a redshirt freshman. And, we're going to take our time with him because obviously we have some depth at the guard spots and the wing spots. But he's a huge part of what we do. And so it's going to be refreshing to get him back out there. But we'll take our time with him. I think the practice has been good. He's been very honest about how he feels and how the knee is recuperating from the surgeries and the treatments. So, we'll take our time with him and see how it goes.
Dave.
Want to get Mark involved. Howard talked about your leadership, looking to you. And this is senior year for you. You've learned from guys like Gary Tallman and Kelsey Barlow. Are you prepared to step in that role and lead a lot of new faces this year?
I am. I'm just ready to give the team my all. This man next to me, is throughout my whole career here, has pushed me to be the best player I can be. Just being picked last only adds to my fire as long, with my teammates too. Then again, like Coach Morris, I can care less about the preseason rankings and all of that. I just know I'm ready to give my all, and once I leave UIC, I can say that I did that.
Paul?
Now that Jay Harris has been on campus for a couple months, how's he transitioning into the program?
Yeah, he's doing well. It's an adjustment, because, when you got a guy that's already got his degree, and, he's looking around at all these kids and everything, you're trying to, keep him in the fold as far as you're still a part of a team, from a standpoint of, just fitting in. He's not been around Mark. Mark's been here 4 years, and now you're trying to put another piece, a very strong piece to the puzzle. But I think what it really helps in the transition is our relationship. You know, I've known him for a long time. I've known his uncle forever, and I know his family, his dad, and everything. So, you know, I think from that standpoint, it's been a good transition. I think the group all embrace him, and I think they see what his value is to the team. So, you know, we'll see how it all plays out. But I think the main thing is his mind is set on the right things. He wants to help our program. He wants to finish college on a strong, positive note, and I think it works for everyone involved.
Tony?
Well, we just came to practice, you know, just still hungry every day, you know. You know, we went to watch film and everything and see what happened. You know, I think you mentioned it about us not being able to finish games, you know, stuff like that, you know. But, you know, I came to practice just to work hard every day, you know, and thinking I'm going to, you know, we're going to win the next game, you know. But I really didn't take off, you know, about it. Take too much time off about it, thinking about it. I just really didn't care.
Mm-hmm. And to piggyback off that a little bit, Tony, I think, you know, the credit I give this group is the fact that they did come back to work every day. You know, most teams would have tanked it, you know, after 5 in a row, after 6 in a row, 10 in a row. You know, these guys went through a tough stretch. And, you know, you can't put your finger on one thing. You know, I mean, there was some injuries here and there, but you can't say it was injuries because there was times we had everyone in place and we still came up short. It's just one of those seasons where you just throw your hands in the air and say, look, let's just stay together. Let's get through this, and we'll see where the chips fall at the end. And, you know, the thing that I give this group credit for is the fact that they never stopped competing. They always came to practice ready to go, no excuses. You know, like you mentioned, they went into a teaching, you know, film session, trying to get better, trying to figure out ways to get over the hump. And I give this group credit. I give these guys a lot of credit for staying with it and, you know, allowing the coaches to just try to find another way to, you know, to get over the hump. And, you know, the Milwaukee game, you know, we wound up winning at Milwaukee. It was one of those games where, you know, I felt like, you know, I had a wrench in my stomach because we could have done that a bunch of other times, and we didn't, for whatever reason. And so, again, we use it as motivation now. We lost a bunch of close ones. We were in all of those, you know, and now we've got to learn how to win those, and that's the key.
You do, just to keep competing and keep, like Coach mentioned, just keep going to practice every day, working hard and giving your best.
Dave?
Couple newcomers in games for you. UIC, Rutland, how is that battle shaping up at a 4 or 5, depending on where you put your weekend?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because, you know, Amon Fels is a 4-year senior that came in with Marc Brown from Simeon. And, you know, Amon is a little bit undersized, but he's in the mix. You know, he's a guy that's, you know, did a good job this summer. I don't know, and as a staff we talked about this. You know, he made a big impact and impression on the staff because he got the most easy baskets of anyone. Just running the floor, being in the right spots, putbacks, that high-energy guy that everyone's looking for. You know, and it's just amazing how that guy can change the, you know, the flow of a game within a matter of moments by doing those little things. And that's something that we've told Amon for the past couple of years. You can be that guy. You can be that high motor, high energy guy that, you know, can really ignite a group and get us out of a lull or a little bit of a stump, you know, in the middle of a game. And so, you know, he did those things. And you mentioned Jake Wiegand. You know, I think Jake's progression has been solid and steady from his freshman year. You know, he played a little bit as a freshman, played a little bit more as a sophomore, had a solid sophomore campaign. I'm expecting big things from Jake this year, just as much as I am from Mark. You know, and then you got Odiasi as a freshman. He is a sponge. You know, he's a long, athletic, gifted young athlete. He's smart. And, you know, we tell our freshmen all the time, if you want to play at this level, you got to be good listeners and you got to be quick learners. And he's those two things. I mean, he has really taken on. And the fact that we have Deion Thomas on our staff as our postman coach, I mean, those two have really hit it off. And Ty is smart in the sense that he is grabbing Dion and asking him questions, getting him on the floor for extra work before and after practice, and it's paying off because he has really gained the attention of the staff, and he's going to play. He is going to play, and I expect him to make an impact as a freshman. So really excited about Ty. Jason McClellan, you know, he's a stretch five, something I haven't had in my program since I've been there. And I've coached them at Wisconsin. I recruited them to Wisconsin. I finally got a stretch five in my program, and Jason can shoot him with the best of them, but he's also got a nice inside game. He can rebound when his mind is set to it, but he's got a good feel for the game. He's a very skilled big. So, you know, we got those guys in the mix, and so it's going to be good competition, but I can see how that group is really coming together. It's a nice little rotation for us. And then we still got David Ramon, the young man from Spain, who was a stretch four, can play the three, can play the four, can really shoot it, very skilled. So our front line will be different this year. A lot of new faces, but I think it's going to be a lot better than people think it will be.
Howard, can you touch real quick on the importance of playing the teams within the city? How important is it for UIC to have opportunities to take on a DePaul, Loyola, and really make your mark within the area? Yeah,
it's always important. You know, the landscape in Chicago is, a little down right now, and everyone's waiting to see who's going to be that program that takes off and goes to the tournament. Obviously, we're the last team. UIC is the last program out of the Chicago area to go, and that was 10 years ago. And we'll be celebrating that team this season. As the 10-year anniversary of the 2014 with Martell Bailey and Cedric Banks and those guys. But the biggest thing is for us to play DePaul. I think it's great for our city. I think it's great for college basketball in the city of Chicago. Playing Northwestern, playing Loyola and keeping that rivalry going, whether they're in the league or not, I think it's important for us to play. We're always trying to play other teams like Chicago State and other teams in the area, Northern Illinois. So, having those games and those rivalries within the city limits are great. I think as all these programs are working to get better, it's going to make the games better and the series even more exciting and competitive. So it's a good deal. We're going to try do our best to always schedule the local teams, and if it works logistically in the schedules, we'll do it. We're not hiding from anyone, and we always want to play. We'll play Illinois again at the United Center next year. This is the last game of that original contract. So, the talks are in place of putting together another contract. I'm sure Illinois will prefer us to come down to Champaign, and I'm not a big fan of that. I like playing them at the United Center, and it's a good venue for us, and it's very competitive, and we always feel we have a chance. So it's fun.
Mark, real quick, what was your favorite part about that foreign trip?
Being in Toronto, honestly, but just being with all the guys and just bonding with them off the court, getting to know them. I think you guys mentioned we have like six or seven newcomers, so just getting to like know them, personally, in their background, and then be able to get those 5 games there. I think it helped us out a lot, and it's going to help us during the season.
And what's the biggest lesson you think you guys brought home as a team after that trip?
Just play together. It's offense and defense. We're not not one man's gonna win the game on offense, neither on defense. So we have to play together, and if we do that, we can beat anyone.
Awesome. Any other questions? All righty. Well, thank you both.
Yep. Thanks.
Best of luck this season.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.